What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego in the back with some more boxing. Now, sometimes you guys on the internet, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that shit, Tumblr, Twitter, all that. Sometimes you guys kill me. And that's simply because of the comments that you guys leave online. Now, when I make a criticism or a video, I get basically slandered. Some people say I hate a whole race or I have something like a bone just against this one fighter simply for keeping it real. Now, in the case of Mike Alvarado versus Juan Manuel Marquez, I did a video and I stated that really what's the point of the fight? Not saying stylistically it can't be a good fight for both, because both fighters have shown heart in the past. But what is the point? What's the outcome? Like, now they're talking about this fight will take place at a catch weight of 144 pounds. And again, I still really feel the same way. Catch weight of 144, both fighters coming off of a loss. You look at Alvarado, he lost 2 out of his last 3 fights. And it's not the mere fact that he lost. Because, like, if you look at, like, Amir Khan lost 2 out of his last 3 fights at one point when he lost to Lamont Peterson and Danny Garcia. However, the difference being, in Amir Khan's situation, he had lost 1 via stoppage in the Danny Garcia fight, and then the Lamont Peterson could have went either way. And a lot of people argue because the ref gave Lamont Peterson basically an advantage. He gave him a 2-point. He gave Amir Khan a 2-point deduction, which is excessive. Like, when's the last time you've seen a 2-point deduction in a pro fight for the same offense, like back to back? Which obviously helped the scoring and helped for Peterson to win. And then later, Peterson tested positive for high levels of testosterone. So you can't really even hold that loss against Amir Khan. But with Alvarado, his losses, there's no way you can omit them. I mean, their losses. Brandon Rios, he had a war with him, and he lost the battle of attrition, and he was stopped by Brandon Rios. The only thing you could say, oh, it was premature, but he was against the ropes, defenseless, and he got punched several times, and he did not respond. That's his bad. He just was out of it. He couldn't register everything. He couldn't grab on to hold or didn't grab on to hold. So he lost that fair and square. Then in the Rios rematch, he won, but if you look at his face at the end of the fight, he had to go through hell and walk through hell to fight. I think it was the second round. Rios like popped up with his jab and really fucked him up, and he almost had the Bambi legs, and it was a close fight, but I gave him props because he won, brought it back to Colorado. And then in the Ruslan Provodnikov took everything he dished out and just kept coming forward and just wore him down and then stopped him too. So look at his losses. It's like 2 of 3 out of his last 3 fights. 2 of them came from like bad stoppages. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this is some bullshit stoppage. Like, if you watch Abner Mares versus Daniel Ponce de Leon, Ponce de Leon was in trouble, but he wasn't getting pummeled like Alvarado was. And I have nothing against Alvarado. In fact, I like him. I don't think he's elite per se. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think he could just move up to welter and fight Pacquiao and beat Pacquiao or something like that. But he's a good fighter. He's a solid, like, middle of the road type fighter. And as far as Marquez, also coming off a loss, he got his head outboxed by Timothy Bradley, who's just smarter, quicker, younger, and he made he made Marquez look old in there. So one thing is, this fight, they're talking about having to take place in Inglewood at the Forum, May 17th. If you guys remember, this was the date and venue that they were trying to make Yuri Ortiz Gamboa and Mikey Garcia happen at. And Top Rank, obviously, is orchestrating both fights. They pushed Yuri Ortiz Gamboa and Mikey Garcia in the talks to that fight to a later date to make this happen. Like, that's whack. I would have much rather, if we're in LA, I would have much rather see first at May 17th. If you already had this date in negotiations and talks. May 17th was the date for Yuriorkis Gamboa and Mikey Garcia in Inglewood at the Forum. I would have much rather them keep that date and lock that fight in than to push that fight back to give us Juan Manuel Marquez and Alvarado. And this shit better not be pay-per-view either. I just, like I said, could be a tough fight for both, but I don't really think it really means a damn. And that's just my honest opinion. And I'm a huge Marquez fan, very technical. I've always followed his career, always been a fan, listened to my videos, my past videos. But it's just one of those fights. It's like kind of backtracking. Even though he's coming off of a loss, like what is a victory over a guy who lost his last 2 out of 3 fights? Or excuse me, he lost 2 out of his last 3 fights. What is that really doing for you? I mean, so it's really more beneficial for Alvarado if he could secure a victory over Marquez, because that's a good name. And Marquez in his last fight wasn't stopped or anything. He just got outboxed by another great fighter, Timothy Bradley, who's undefeated. So really, to me, it does more for Alvarado if he is able to win than it will to Marquez if he wins. So it's for that reason, it's pretty one-sided. If you look at Canelo versus Mayweather, for instance, that is a fight where either person won, it should do things for them. Like Mayweather, that means he took another undefeated fighter's O, and people will give him credit because Canelo's big and had momentum. Same thing if Canelo beat Mayweather, obviously, that would be a big thing. So, I don't know. I just don't see really the end result. Like, I don't see, like, oh, okay, this fight is taking place at a catchweight of 144, so the winner is automatically ready for Pacquiao Part 5, like if Marquez wins, or I can't picture Alvarado, if he does win, beating Pacquiao. So it's just like, what's the point? That's just my God honest opinion. Let me know what you guys think. This fight may take place at a catchweight. Like I said, I'll watch it because I like both fighters. Both fighters are warriors. Both fighters show heart. But I just think it's definitely not a fight that must happen. And then the last point I have to address is the mere fact that anybody else in the sport, if they don't fight, like let's say I did some videos recently. So if Andre Ward doesn't move up to fight Kovalev or Stevenson, even though they're not in his immediate weight division, because you feel he's cleared it out, you'll say Ward's ducking them. Triple G, a lot of people say he's ducking Andre Ward because he doesn't want to move up. Sergio Martinez, they say, oh, he's ducking Andre Ward because he doesn't necessarily want to move up to fight Andre Ward. But when Marquez has a guy who is open and has fought at his actual division, like Ruslan Provodnikov, who called him out on Twitter in public, has fought at 140 and 147, and I'm sure he has no problem fighting Marquez at 47 or at 40, or even a catchweight like they're doing with the Mike Alvarado and Juan Manuel Marquez as they continue to negotiate. Why did Marquez not fight Ruslan, the guy who beat Alvarado, but you're gonna fight Alvarado, the guy who got like literally bludgeoned in the late rounds by Ruslan Provodnikov, but you're gonna sidestep him to fight Alvarado? I don't see it making sense. Like help me understand how that makes sense. Other than the fact that maybe Marquez doesn't want to take the risk. And again, it just goes back to my last a couple of videos ago. People were complaining to me like, oh, Floyd's a pussy, he doesn't take risks. So he's 37 and he's fighting a young lion like Canelo, and that's not a good enough risk. And that was just his last fight. Even a fight with Maidana or Amir Khan both presents different problems and obstacles for a 37-year-old. So despite if Amir Khan deserves it or not, he has speed, he has in and out movement. We haven't seen him at welterweight. So those still provide obstacles for an aging fighter like Floyd Mayweather. However, people complain that, oh, he's not taking enough risk. But then Marquez, who's 40, older than Mayweather, I'll give him that, and Ruslan's calling him out, and I guarantee you, Ruslan, if you're going to call a dude out and you've previously fought at 47, you fought at 40, and I'm pretty sure he'd be open to a catchweight. Marquez really has no reason not to fight him. They're both with the same banner, both with top rank. So why would Marquez pass up this opportunity to fight Ruslan to fight Alvarado? It just doesn't make sense. Alvarado's coming off a loss. Ruslan isn't. Plus, even if you look at Ruslan's fight before that, he lost to Timothy Bradley, but some people said he should have won. I don't agree with that. But at the very least, nobody can doubt that the fact that Ruslan put Timothy Bradley in a more sensitive position than Timothy Bradley versus Pacquiao than Pacquiao ever did. Ruslan had him way far more hurt than he was in the Pacquiao fight. And again, what can Marquez say for not fighting Ruslan? Oh, Ruslan doesn't have a fan base. Well, Mike Alvarado doesn't have a hell of a big fan base either. So realistically, what's the motive? Like, this fight would take place in Inglewood. I'm from California. Alvarado's not from California. Marquez isn't from California. So it's not like, oh, we're doing this like, you know what I mean, like Miguel Cotto versus Sergio Martinez, and this is taking place in Cotto's second home of New York because there's a high Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban fan base. So it's not like the fight's taking place in Colorado, so that's why he's fighting, because it's a big fan base and they have a big venue, etc., etc. So really, somebody explain that to me, how Marquez can opt not to fight Ruslan Provodnikov without having a solid reason, and nobody chastises him, yet other fighters don't fight X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden they're ducking, they're pussy, they're scared. So please, someone help me understand that. Help me to understand how that makes any sense. And that's all I got to say, man. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video's Ego signing off.